Alright, so in this video I want to talk about market pricing. And the reason why I think it's important is because I believe it's a background for understanding things like the stock market, the housing markets, when people are looking at stock prices or housing prices or talking about different things in the economy in general. It's good to understand how market pricing works. My background, from school, universities, I got a degree in economics, so it's helpful in this regard. But I've also traveled to a lot of different places, and I spent some time, I spent a couple months actually in West Africa in Ghana, and that's a place where I think I learned the most about market pricing, just because there you have to bargain for everything. Whether you're hailing a cab, whether you're buying a snack, it's all market pricing. And people travel, let's say, to the Caribbean or something, you might have experienced it as well too. Some people even bargain a lot, if they're shopping for jewelry or something, or if souvenirs. Mexico, the same type of thing. It can be very fun for those people who enjoy it, or it can be frustrating if you're not into it. And the irony is it all comes down to that economic idea of supply and demand, which, when you're in a class, it'll be, you see a graph, it looks like an X. One of the lines is supply, and one of the lines is demand. And the idea is, the more supply there is, the more of it exists, then the easier it is for someone to get it, so there isn't as much demand, and so you can't charge as much money for it. Scarcity ends up making things worth more, because if you can't get it so easily, and or people really want it, you can charge more for it. So if you're thinking about, you want to buy, a souvenir, and you're on a vacation or something, if you only have an hour off of a cruise ship or something, you can't go very far, you can't necessarily find stuff so easily, so you might be stuck paying whatever the person wants for the price. Now, often, if you're coming from a Western country where people have more money as compared to other parts of the world, it might still seem like a good deal to you. But often the first price you get is a lot more than what that person is willing to take for it. And some fun and some enjoyment can be in just the social side of actual bargaining, because in the countries where people bargain as just a part of the culture, if you don't bargain for something, people actually think you're kind of an idiot, and that you're kind of being rude, or just you're antisocial, like someone who just doesn't want to talk. But really, it's because in North America we're used to fixed prices. I'm from Canada, and here, go to the grocery store, you want to buy some Cheerios, there's a little price on the shelf. So it's like $4, let's say, for the box, and that's how much you pay. You can't go to the counter and say, okay, I'll give you $3.50 for it. It doesn't work that way. Sometimes if you're going to buy a large quantity, you can maybe talk to the manager and say, okay, I'm going to buy 5 cases of it. Can you give me a good price on it? And either they will give you a good price, or you might have to order it special, and then next week you can get it at a good price. Maybe you have to give a deposit or something. So there is a certain amount of flexibility with prices, but often what you see is what you get, in places like in North America and in Europe and stuff. Whereas in other parts of the world where there's market pricing, everything you do, even if you want to get a plastic bag from someone on the street, they'll make up a price, and you gotta either take that price or you gotta bargain them down if they're gonna rip you off. So it's kind of funny. And so the experience that I had was that whenever I wanted something, if I really liked it, then I had a hard time getting a good deal. And sometimes they would even charge me more than what I would pay in Canada for it. And I was like, oh my gosh, why would I pay that? But if you want it, then that's what you gotta pay. Whereas other times, I remember a time I was on the beach, and this guy was trying to sell me a painting, and I was like, it's a nice painting, it'd be cool to have as a souvenir, but I was telling the guy, I don't have any money on me. And often, because in these bargaining cultures, people kind of have a story that goes back and forth, oh, I don't have any money, or it's not good quality, but then they'll say, oh no, but it is, then they'll adjust the price. He thought it was part of the game, and so he kept on trying to sell me this painting, until eventually I was like, okay, I got 50 cents in my pocket. If that's what you want, then you can take it. And the guy's like, sure you don't have anything else? Come on. It's a good painting. And I'm like, no, that's all I got. I won't even be able to go back home. I have to borrow money from my friend to catch the taxi. And he's like, okay. And he gave me this painting, which I was like, it wasn't the nicest, it wasn't the big nice painting. It was one that I liked that was smaller. But I was surprised that I would have to pay probably normally maybe $2-3 for that painting. I got it for 50 cents just because I didn't have any money on me. And he wanted to make the sale. And I was like, wow, it's kind of crazy. Ironically, towards the end of that trip, I went to a place where they were actually, it was more of like a art show, I guess, or something. Then they were selling the paintings and other, souvenirs. So the demographics that people go in there are tourists looking to, get something souvenir. So they knew that they could charge more money. And that same artist was there with the same paintings that I'd seen on the beach, and he wouldn't give me anything close to what he was offering me on the beach. I had to pay way more. I ended up paying like $20 or something for this one painting I really liked, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I could have got that for probably like $2 or $5 on the beach if I didn't have money on me. But because I had money, I had to pay 20. And the irony is that to me, I wanted a souvenir. I liked the artwork. And to me, the $20, it didn't seem like it was a huge deal for something, you know, to have as like a keepsake, so I was willing to pay it. And the person selling it often knows that. They're like, okay, if you want it, you're gonna pay for it. The irony is I didn't find out how much, you know, when you get home, how much it cost to get it actually stretched onto a frame, so that I didn't realize that it cost a lot more than I thought. But still, it was a good bargain in my mind that, you know, I got this nice painting, because to get a painting in Canada, like an actual, like original, it would be expensive. So anyways, it's just an example of something where if you want it, it's going to be harder to get a good price. And if you don't want it, you can almost get it for nothing. And it's really important to realize that when it comes to housing prices and stock prices, because it's the people who are more detached from the outcome of it, people who are okay whether they buy it or not, they're the ones who will get the best prices. And the people who feel desperate for it are going to get ripped off. And often when people blame, you know, like wealthy people, or oh, the rich are always getting richer, a lot of it is because when you have money and you don't need something, you can make the choice. Do I want it or not? Well, if it's a good enough price, I'll buy it. And if it's not, I won't. And so when people are making investments or property choices and they have that choice, it's a lot easier for them to profit from the transaction or wait until another time. And I think that understanding that is what dictates a lot of, you know, misconceptions about people, I think. But anyways, that's just my quick little spiel about market pricing, and I hope that you find it helpful. And if you do, then you can share it with friends, and hopefully you'll enjoy what comes next in the next couple of videos, which I'm going to have about housing prices as well as stock prices.